My very first running impression of the brand new Apple Watch Ultra 3 was on a 20-mile practice marathon day. That means over 3 hours on feet, lots of hills, lots of data to track, and lots of me being very exhausted at the end. On top of that, over the past week, I've also done an additional 20 miles between easy runs, tempo runs, and interval runs. So how is the Ultra 3 holding up? First things first, nobody provided me this watch. I paid for it with my own money, and here are the technical specs so we don't have to talk about them again. And thirdly, I just like watches, I guess? Alright, let's dive into what I've liked and disliked after all that running with the AWU3. Oh, I don't like saying it like that. I guess I'm kind of a negative person. Let's start off with the dislikes. And I'd have to say my biggest dislike from the Ultra 3 really isn't anything specific. There is a lot to like from this as a total fitness package. In a vacuum, this is amazing. And maybe I'm being nitpicky because it does have a few key benefits over previous models, but it kind of feels meh. Again, I wore the Ultra 2 for over 2 years, and if you swapped these out on my wrist, I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And I don't just mean in visuals. Yeah, if you put them next to each other, they look identical. But I mean in function. Everything I did on the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is what I'm continuing to do on the 3, and it doesn't feel appreciably faster or slicker in that operation. So yes, we'll talk about some of the things I've liked, but on the scale of excitement, even when I like them, it's only up to about a 5. There are no things that get me to like a 10 level of excitement on my primary use case of running and like telling the time. Who even cares if it tells the time, right? Okay, and I don't really like the liquid glass design language. Also, I learned this as I was writing the script. I also really don't like that my iPad automatically capitalizes liquid glass. You only really interact with the different kind of design language when you input your PIN or you interact with the systems menu, but I don't know. It feels too video gamey for me. I don't like it on my iPhone or my iPad either for taking a step back and looking at the Apple ecosystem, but ugh. I also don't like the price, and I totally get that high-end sports adventure watches are expensive. I mean, look at the packaging it comes in. But I'm a simple person. I like complaining when things are expensive. Okay, all that negativity aside, what have I liked in that nearly 50 miles of running over the past week? One thing that I liked initially just right off the bat is the viewing angle of the screen. The Ultra 1 and the 2 were never bad for viewing per se, but I have a significantly easier time seeing the screen for my running information with less wrist and arm turning on the Apple Watch Ultra 3. Like, I'm not kidding, as I'm running, I don't have to turn as much. And I look a lot. Look, guys, it's a me problem. I look at my watch way more than I probably should during a run. And any little smoothing of that friction adds up to a lot for me. And it is quite remarkable when you can see the screen from so different of an angle. I also like part of that is I like how bright the screen gets when outdoors. I didn't measure this with a light-o-meter or anything, but with the viewing angle and the brightness, it's so much easier to see the watch at all times. Does that sacrifice some battery life to give that juice to the screen? I don't know, I guess time will tell. Get it? Screen size is kind of, when we're talking about the screen, the size of the screen is kind of meh to me. I know technically it's supposed to have more screen real estate, but honestly, I can't tell the difference, and I'm usually one to extol the virtue of how great it is when smartwatches squeeze even a little bit more screen real estate out of there, but I'm telling you, looking at it, I can't tell the difference. I also technically like that this now has 5G compared to LTE. Keeps it more relevant with more cell phone tower progress, I guess. I also technically like that this now has satellite communication like my iPhone. What those two things kind of boil down to is the Ultra is becoming more of a device that doesn't even need a phone. I don't even really need my phone to text anymore. I do still need it for CarPlay and setting up the watch, which is frustrating is that you have to have an iPhone to set up the watch, but maybe we'll get here soon on the Ultra and no longer needing a phone. But when it comes to running, I guess I only really still bring my phone with me running when I want to listen to like a long YouTube video. The next thing I've liked is a continuation of a like from the last version. I love how this watch looks. I think the matte finish, I did get the matte black version this time around. I think the matte finish combined with the crown, the action button, I think it looks fantastic. The reason I wear the Apple Watch Ultra is I think it does a fantastic job of threading the needle of being a big watch with big watch features, but not being too big of a watch. I think it looks great and it feels very comfortable. Another thing I've really appreciated is the health data accuracy of the watch. Something that I've had issues with in the past from a variety of watches, not just Apple Watch, is when I start running, sometimes it takes a little bit for the heart rate to actually start being accurately tracked. Thus far in running with this watch, I haven't noticed that problem. Overall, I felt this watch more quickly locks onto my biometrics and keeps a pretty accurate track of my runs. Battery life is great for an Apple Watch. Garmin fans, please don't attack me. I was too exhausted after that 20-mile run to check, but after a 7-mile run the other day and then a full day of regular casual use, I was at 87%. That's pretty darn good for a smartwatch with this much tech packed into it. But at the end of the day, would I recommend runners go out and buy the Apple Watch Ultra 3? Yes and no. Okay, no and then yes. If you have an Ultra 2, no, I probably wouldn't update. If you have a regular Apple Watch and don't feel the need to exist without a phone for long periods of time, I also would not recommend the Ultra 3. If you want a device that can work pretty well standalone for long periods of time while doing endurance activities, is easy to use because of the size, and can last like a whole long block training endurance marathon event. I've never run an ultra marathon, but I've seen reports that they can last through there with certain settings. Then yes, I would say the Ultra 3 is probably a good recommendation. It's worked really well for me over the last week and 50-ish miles of running, and it will likely be my watch for the next 2 to 3 years until the next update happens. But what about you? Do you have the Apple Watch Ultra 3? Have you considered getting one? Let us all know in the comments below, and thank you for watching.